Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Northern session of the Arizona Office of Tourism's regional webinar series. Today, we'll be walking through insights for the state, the Northern region, and Apache, Coconino, and Navajo counties. Just a quick note, some of the numbers have been rounded for easier viewing, so they may not reflect the exact figures. All right, let's get started. We have an exciting session ahead. First, we'll kick things off with our Arizona-specific data, where we'll take a closer look at what's happening across the state. In 2024, Arizona welcomed about 41.2 million overnight visitors, which remained about the same compared to 2023, up 0.7% compared to last year, and 1.3% compared to pre-pandemic levels in 2019. More impressively, total visitor spending reached about 29.7 billion, a 1.4% increase over last year and a significant 16.2% increase compared to 2019. Let's take a look at travel spending across the state over the past 3 years. The orange line represents 2022, the blue line represents 2023, and the purple line represents 2024. While the lines may appear close together, 2024 actually outperformed both previous years. If you look at the peaks in the trend line, you'll notice that spring continues to be our high season, and 2024 followed that same pattern. In fact, travel spending in March 2024 reached around $4 billion. Let's take a look at statewide visitation for 2024 on a quarterly basis, compared to 2023 in purple and 2019 in blue. Overall overnight visitation in 2024 shows modest growth compared to 2023 and has surpassed 2019 levels in the second and fourth quarters. This growth is being driven primarily by the leisure and resident travel segments. For example, in Q2 2024, resident visitation was up a strong 7%, and leisure visitation increased 4.6% compared to the same period in 2019. In contrast, the business travel segment continues to lag, with visitation in Q1 and Q3 of 2024 down about 3% and 5% respectively, compared to 2019. Moving on to our last state focus section, international visitation. In 2024, Arizona welcomed about 5.3 million international visitors, with over 85% of those visitors coming from North America, which consists of Canada and Mexico. Europe is the second largest market with about 8.3% of visitors, followed by Asia Pacific with 4.4%. If you look at the orange chart, we can see that international visitation is growing steadily from 3 million in 2021 to 5.3 million in 2023. While we haven't recovered to 2019's 6.1 million visitors, things are moving in the right direction. Now that we've covered what's happening across the state, let's zoom in on northern counties, Apache, Coconino, and Navajo, to see what's happening there. In 2024, the northern region brought in $2.4 billion in travel spending. Coconino County continued to lead the way with $1.9 billion, an almost 4% increase year over year. Navajo County remained about the same, while Apache County experienced a slight decline of almost 3%. On this slide, we're looking at travel impacts for Apache County. Each bar represents a different category, including total travel spending, tax receipts, employment, accommodation spending, food service spending, and earnings. Apache County's travel spending fell 2.8%, driven by a 4.3% drop in accommodations. In contrast, food service spending grew 1% and local tax receipts remained flat. Despite the spending decline, employment rose 2.7% and total earnings grew by 4.6%. This is due to the typical lag between revenue and labor. Spending adjusts quickly to demand, but businesses are slower to change staffing and pay to retain trained workers. As a result, employment and earnings, wages, benefits, and owner income often fall behind real-time shifts in spending. Now let's take a look at the same data for Coconino County. Coconino County's tourism sector shows healthy and consistent expansion. Direct travel spending increased 3.7% in 2024, and all key indicators are showing growth, with notable increases in job earnings, employment, and local tax revenue. Moving on to Navajo County. In 2024, tourism remained steady overall. While total visitor spending held relatively flat, we did see growth in several areas. Tax receipts and food service and employment increased over 1.4%, while earnings and lodging increased over 2.8% each. Overall, Navajo County is showing a stable and balanced recovery with consistent local growth. Now that we've covered some high-level insights, let's dive a bit deeper and look at spending by accommodations. In Apache County, spending by accommodation type remained relatively unchanged from 2023 to 2024. From the charts, we can see that Apache County is primarily an overnight destination, with nearly half of visitor spending on accommodations coming from hotels, motels, and short-term rentals, followed by visitors staying in private homes coming in at 31%. Moving on to Coconino County's spend by accommodation. In this county, accommodation spending is overwhelmingly concentrated in the hotel, motel, and short-term vacation rental sector, making up almost 75% of spending. Coming in next is day travel with 16% and private homes at 4.3%. Compared to 2023, accommodation spend has remained stable. Moving on to our last county, hotels, motels, and short-term vacation rentals take the lead and account for almost 54% of visitor spending on accommodations, while stays in private homes represent 16% of spending, followed by vacation homes at 15%. Compared to 2023, the market shares of accommodation types in 2024 have remained fairly stable. Moving on from accommodations, let's take a look at spending by commodity for Apache County. Commodities include arts and entertainment and recreation, food service, food stores, local transportation and gas, and retail. In 2024, food service remained the top spending category in Apache County, growing by about 1%. Accommodations and transportations, however, both declined, down 4% and 9% respectively, while other categories held steady. Overall, visitor spending stayed fairly balanced, with gains in food service and stores helping to offset the drops in lodging and transportation. Now let's turn to Coconino County, which saw modest but broad-based growth in visitor spending from 2023 to 2024. Accommodations led the way, growing by 33 million compared to 2023. The second largest category, food service, also showed strong growth, increasing by nearly 17 million. Modest gains were seen in arts, entertainment, and rec, up 7 million, and food stores up 4 million. The only area of decline was local transportation and gas, which has been trending downward in many regions across Arizona. Lastly, in 2024, Navajo County saw growth in accommodations up 3% and food service up 1%. Transportation and retail spending dipped slightly, down 9% and 2% respectively, while other categories held steady. Overall, visitor spending remained stable, with gains in lodging and dining helping to offset small declines in that area. Moving on to our next session, let's turn our attention to lodging performance. On this chart, we're looking at short-term rentals like Airbnbs and VRBOs in the northern region. Short-term rental activity in the northern region rose modestly in 2024. The chart on the left shows supply up 4%, and the chart on the right shows demand up 6% compared to 2023, indicating steady market growth. In our next section, we will focus on airport traffic, passenger traffic in the northern region. For state-level data, please go to our website at tourism.az.gov. On this chart, we're looking at 3 regional airports: Flagstaff Pulliam, Page Municipal, and Show Low Regional, combined on the right, and Phoenix Sky Harbor on the left. While Sky Harbor isn't technically in the northern region, it serves as Arizona's main gateway, with many visitors flying in there before exploring other parts of the state. At Phoenix Sky Harbor, domestic passenger traffic stayed above 2023 and 2022 levels for most of 2024, with a noticeable spike in March reaching nearly 5 million passengers. Meanwhile, the three northern Arizona airports together saw solid growth in 2024. Total passengers rose 6% year over year and surpassed 2022 levels by 1%. The strongest gains come in the fall, showing strong late season travel demand. Moving right along to state and national park visitation data for the northern region. First, let's take a look at state park data for the northern region, which includes 5 parks shown on the chart on the right. The park with the highest visitation is Slide Rock State Park, coming in with an 8.5% increase in visitation. After a downturn in 2023, state park visitation fully recovered in 2024, slightly exceeding 2022 totals. With the exception of Riordan Mansion State Historic Park, all parks saw growth in 2024. In contrast, national parks had a surge in visitors in 2023. Building off this, national park visitation increased by an additional 2.3% in 2024, reaching a new record of 10.9 million visitors. This growth was primarily driven by steady gains in Grand Canyon National Park and several smaller national monuments. Although Glen Canyon and Sunset Crater Volcano experienced slight declines, the overall results highlight the region's popularity and consistent tourism demand. Let's shift over to gross sales in the northern region. First, let's take a look at gross sales in Apache County. In 2024, hotel, retail, and restaurant sales remained fairly steady, following previous seasonal patterns. Hotel, motel, and restaurant sales were relatively stable, peaking in 2023 before seeing moderate declines in 2024. Retail, the largest sector, experienced a significant drop, with 2024 sales down nearly 30% from their peak in 2022. The amusement sector was much more volatile, falling sharply in 2023, but partially recovering in 2024 with a strong percentage gain. Moving on to Coconino County. Hotel and motel sales in Coconino County totaled $685.2 million in 2024, up 5% from 2023, supported by overnight visitors and strong summer and fall performance. Amusement sales rose about 1.2%, and restaurant sales grew 3%, showing steady demand for food and entertainment. On the other hand, retail sales fell 1.8% in 2024. Overall, tourism-related sales in Coconino County stayed stable, with growth in lodging, restaurants, and amusements offsetting the small drop in retail. Now on to Navajo County gross sales. Hotel and motel sales totaled $79.1 million, up 2% from 2023. Retail sales grew 16%, reaching $1.2 billion, remaining strong despite some month-to-month variation. Amusement sales rose 22% to $11 million, showing a solid rebound in recreation and entertainment, and restaurant sales were mostly steady, increasing 0.5% from 2023. Overall, the data shows strong economic momentum across most tourism sectors, with amusement and retail leading growth in 2024. We've reached our final section. Let's take a look at what visitors in the the northern region are doing. This chart shows the main reasons visitors come to the northern region. The 3 dominant drivers of visitation remain visiting friends and relatives at 27%, touring at 21%, and outdoors at 18%. Combined, these traditional motives account for 2/3 of all trips in the region. However, the two largest categories, visiting friends and relatives and touring, both saw their share of the travel market decline year over year, dropping by 2 and 4 points respectively. This decline was offset by significant growth in other areas. City trips and casino visits experienced the largest gains, which each increasing their share by around 3 points. Moving on to what type of accommodation visitors stay in when visiting the northern region. In 2024, traditional hotels and motels continued to be the top choice in the northern region, making up almost 58% of all visitor stays. Most major accommodation types, including hotels, motels, and campgrounds, saw a slight drop in market share compared to last year. Bed and breakfasts were an exception, showing a small increase in market share. Let's take a look at visitor summaries for Apache County. Phoenix provides the largest share of overnight trips to Apache County at 23%, with shorter stays averaging 1.8 days, reflecting quick regional getaways. The nearby Albuquerque Santa Fe area contributes 9% of overnight visitors, also with brief stays. Long-haul travelers from Chicago and St. Louis stay the longest, over 6 days on average, and show the highest repeat visitation rates, between 71 to 74%, highlighting their importance despite low overall numbers. Visitors from Texas and Oklahoma typically stay 3 days or more, adding to the county's overnight mix. In summary, Apache County attracts a solid base of regional overnight visitors, primarily from Phoenix and New Mexico, while also drawing loyal, long-stay travelers from the Midwest. Though most trips are short, the county's strengths lie in its ability to retain out-of-state visitors for longer stays. Moving on to the same dataset for Coconino County. 80% of visitors stay overnight, showing the county's strong appeal for multi-day trips. About 67% are repeat visitors, in line with the state's average, reflecting strong destination loyalty. The average stay is 2.7 days, slightly shorter than Apache County's 3.3 days, suggesting more quick visits or weekend getaways. Coconino County draws a solid mix of overnight and repeat visitors, mainly from nearby Arizona and surrounding regional markets. Phoenix drives short, frequent trips, while out-of-state visitors from cities like Chicago and Houston tend to stay longer, return more often, and contribute higher economic impact. And last but certainly not least, Navajo County. About 84% of visitors stay overnight, highlighting the appeal for multi-day trips. Roughly 67% are repeat visitors, matching the state average. And their average stay is 3 days, so a bit longer than Coconino County's 2.7 days, but slightly shorter than Apache County's 3.3 days. Overall, Navajo County draws a solid mix of regional overnight visitors, mainly from Phoenix and New Mexico, while also attracting local, long-stay travelers from the Midwest. Most trips are over 2 days, showing that the county's strength lies in retaining out-of-state visitors for longer stays. That wraps up our webinar on the northern region of Arizona. For more details on which counties make up each region, you can refer to this map and chart. Be sure to tune in next time as we continue with the next session in the Arizona Office of Tourism's regional webinar series. For more regional data, please visit us at tourism.az.gov and navigate to the regional profile sections or scan the QR code. If you have any questions on what we covered today or other research questions, please feel free to contact us. We hope the data we provided today is helpful. Thank you for joining us.